So thank you, Anne, for hosting us on such an important issue and in such an important day. And Governor, thank you for being here. Thank you for leading on this issue, and thank you for your commitment to this issue. I'd like to thank the Lieutenant Governor for being here. I also look around the room and I see mayors and other public officials, and I appreciate you for coming. I see labor leaders, I see business leaders, community leaders, social service leaders. Thank you for your commitment to Rhode Island. You know, seeing all of you here today reminds me that this is an everybody issue. And in order for us to fix this issue, we all have to come together once and for all. Now, if you're like most people, you're probably sick of hearing about the pensions by now. It's a problem that's been in the making for decades. And we all know it's not going to be solved by a single report or a single speech. In fact, my daughter, who's 6.5, brought the newspaper in this morning. She threw the paper down and said, "Mom, another pension story." She said, "You haven't fixed that yet?" I said, "No, Cece, I'm still working on it." But look, we all know this is a huge problem, and we're frustrated that we haven't fixed it yet. We're anxious for quick solutions. People say to me, "I know it's a problem, but what's the answer?" You know, I find it's a complex problem, and it's actually often poorly understood. In the past, the debate has been characterized by misinformation or incomplete information. And there is no easy answer. And to offer the answer today would be premature. And it would cut off robust and honest debate and an education process that we must have if we are going to go forward to a sustainable, lasting solution. Now, we do need to move swiftly and decisively, but my message to you today is that it is more important that we get this right. Today, we have an opportunity to chart a new course to solve this old problem. I suggest a new approach marked by honesty, accurate numbers, and an absence of finger-pointing and casting blame. We've seen firsthand in Wisconsin what happens when anger and animosity and divisive rhetoric dominate the debate. And we're not going to let that happen here. I believe, and I'm suggesting, a more balanced approach, a practical approach that will lead to a solution. This time, as we approach this issue, let's begin differently. This time, let's begin by asking the following question. What should retirement security look like for all Rhode Islanders? The answer to that question will form the basis for lasting reform. I want to remind us all, throughout this process, we can never forget that real people and real families are attached to every single statistic in that report. Any proposed reform will have consequences for public employees and teachers who have done nothing wrong and have paid into this system faithfully, exactly as they've been asked to do. The fault does not lie with them. The fault lies with the poorly designed system that has been faltering for decades. On the other side, we also can't ignore Rhode Islanders, the average Rhode Islander who is struggling, the average Rhode Islander outside of the pension system, who's struggling to save for their own retirement while being asked to pay higher and higher taxes in part to pay into the pension system. I'm here today to launch Secure Path RI. Secure Path RI is an initiative of my office dedicated to putting Rhode Island on a path toward economic stability and growth. It will organize all of the work from my office focused on Rhode Island's future prosperity and economic vitality. If we want to start down a secure path, we have to fix our fundamentals. There's no silver bullet. We have to fix the fundamentals. We have to be able to invest again in our future and attract companies to our state that will provide much needed jobs for our people. And to do this, we must fix the pension system, because one of the largest and fastest growing line items in our state and city budgets is the amount flowing into the pension. The first initiative of Secure Path is our report, Truth in Numbers, and our website, Secure Path RI, which is now live. Now, each of you has the report in front of you, and here are a few slides that we've taken out from the report. I would encourage you all to read the report and to visit the website. And I'd ask you please to continue visiting the website, Secure Path RI, to stay up on the work and additional reports that will be coming out of the office. This first paper that you have is purposely short. It's intended to clearly and simply lay out the pension problem. Now, in producing it, it was important that it was easy to read. So I used my 14-year-old niece as a case study. I said, Jana, could you please read this for Auntie and tell me what you think? She read it, and she came back and said, it's clear, it's straightforward, but Auntie, it is really boring. The report's divided into two sections. The first section explains the magnitude of the problem and how we got here. The second provides a framework that will lead us to solutions. The first section makes three things clear. First, the pension problem is enormous. It is likely as large as $9 billion. And that number is all to pay for past service. Second, although the state and employees have paid into the system every year, there was never enough put aside by either the state or employees, because the state has consistently used overly optimistic and inaccurate numbers, which have had the effect of masking the true cost of the benefits. The report shows just how harmful it can be when politics trumps sound actuarial and financial practices. Finally, the report lays out clearly the consequences of inaction, the reason you're all here today, because you're ready to step up and act. Now let's pause a minute and let those consequences sink in. I wonder if any of us really can understand what it means to have $1 billion of our state budget devoted solely to pension payments. That is the path we are on unless we act. Can you envision a state where so many vital public goods and services would have to be eliminated to pay for pension benefits, where 20 cents of every dollar, every tax dollar, is dedicated to the pension, as it will be in 7 years unless we act? Can any of us live with ourselves if we don't act now and instead allow these pension assets to dry up and not be there for the young teacher or the young employee who's counting on them in 25 or 30 years? The second section of the report lays out a framework for solutions. Now, it's important to realize that in Rhode Island, unlike other states, pension benefits are set out in statute, not in contract. Therefore, any solution has to be legislative. The report lays out 5 guiding principles, which together form a framework for potential legislation. First, using accurate and transparent assumptions. Second, making equitable and reasonable changes to benefit and contribution levels. Third, ensuring intergenerational fairness. Fourth, establishing self-correcting processes to ensure that we never have to face this again. And finally, creative solutions to address the unfunded liability, which is the lion's share of the problem today. So let's go back to my initial question. What is retirement security? At the end of the day, that's what this is about. Asked differently, how much income is required for someone to be secure in retirement? What is a reasonable amount of our state budget to dedicate to the payment of these benefits? We need to begin with shared answers to these questions, and then we can design a system to achieve that. We should not begin by asking what modifications can we make to the pension to balance next year's budget. This is the old approach. It hasn't worked, and it won't work. With a clear understanding of the scope of the problem and its underlying causes, let's move to action. I believe we need a legislative solution enacted by July of 2012, which is when the pension bill explodes to $600 million from the state budget and extremely high payments from municipal budgets. Very soon, my office will be announcing plans for a working group of experts to advise me on the issue and around a robust public education plan. The goal is to work with the General Assembly and the Governor to produce legislation that the General Assembly can enact prior to July 2012. Now, we all have a role to play if we're going to get this done. As the treasurer, while I have no legal authority to change the pension system, I will be a watchdog. I will be a fiduciary, and I will propose a comprehensive plan for the General Assembly and the Governor to consider. The Governor and the legislature will ultimately need to craft and enact legislative reform. Union leadership has to participate and has to educate their members on the issue, and I am proud to have most of you here with me today. And your role, every Rhode Islander has a role. Your role is to educate yourselves. Your role is to engage. And your role is to hold us, your public officials, accountable for action on this vitally important issue. Now, I know many of you and many out there will say, Treasurer, it can't be done. It's too big of a problem. It's $9 billion, too many special interests, been with us for 30 years, can't happen. I know it's going to be hard. I know that. The months ahead will be challenging, no doubt about it. We won't always agree, the debate will be tense, it'll be a rocky road. That is not a reason not to try. We must try. Failure is not an option. Today, we begin anew. We begin anew with a new approach. We are here today at Crossroads because as a state, we are at a crossroads. We have to decide what path we will take. We have to decide what kind of a state do we want to live in. If we choose a path toward a robust economy, thriving schools, and secure retirement for everyone, then we must resolve to fix our fundamentals, beginning with our pension system. Ladies and gentlemen, today I ask you to join me in believing that we can find a solution to this problem. I believe I wouldn't be doing this if I thought we couldn't get there. Join me in that belief and commit yourselves to engaging in a process that will lead us down that secure path to prosperity and security for all. Thank you. The governor would like to say a few words, and I would like to just briefly, thank him for his leadership and his collaboration in the past few months, and reiterate how much of a pleasure it's been to work with you, and how I think we'll be able to do great things together.
Thank you, Treasurer. It's been a great pleasure to work with you over the transition and through the first 5 months in office. And the hard work is ahead. And the key is, of course, trying to keep a collaborative effort as we go forward. I call it the 5 entities, the bargaining units, the unions that represent the employees, the Treasurer, the Governor, and the House and the Senate. These are the 5 entities, and of course the public being very involved, as the Treasurer said. But don't forget, what was it, 20 years ago, we did workers' comp. And the same, everyone said, you're never going to reform workers' comp. But the same challenges we face now, we face with workers' comp. And with management and with labor getting together, we did those reforms. It can be done. So Treasurer, good luck. We'll work with municipal leaders. I see Mayor Fung and Mayor Lombardi here, Lieutenant Governor Roberts, and all the leaders of the state here. Looking forward to moving our great state forward with a secure path. So look forward to the hard work ahead.